Wassail! I've already done this once. Actually, I've done it twice and didn't record. But anyway, it's all good practice. And I think it was because I wasn't going to call this Rune Rakers. I was going to use a little bit of a deception to draw people in who are not watching these because they think it doesn't affect their stories. It affects everyone's stories really profoundly. But you can't start anything with a deception. It was just a reminder of air frequency. Deception's no good. You've just got to live in your truth. And the readings were full of such magic, but I know this one will be too, because now it'll have even more magic, because I'm not using Loki energy to do a little trick to pull you in. So I've been going all over the place here trying to find somewhere to do a reading, and I've been guided to sit. Oh my god, it's got a face on it now that I've moved. I've had to move, I've had to retreat because the sun keeps coming at me. I might just have to put this over there and hope it doesn't turn it off because the sun's getting the computer. So I sat down and oh, the face is changing. It's like the face of the Yggdrasil tree behind me, looking down with his eyes at the top there, and then the nose, and then a mouth. He's watching you. So I sat down anyway. With the first reading, I found a crystal in amongst all the floor. A beautiful, wonderful, sparkly piece of stone. I don't know what it is. It's got a kind of a quartzy edge, but it isn't. It's something more like feldspar. But anyway, I'm always giving the earth crystals, and today, before this reading, the earth has given me one. So beautiful. Now, I'm not sure if you've been watching Robin Ream's readings, but you should, because they've been so incredibly magical. In Ream's last one, she drew her runic symbol in scrying water, drank the water, and it was like a power rune, and it amplified all of her senses. And Rob's had a go, and he said feeling very much the same frequency. And then also, since the last reading, Patrick did his own version of a rune shuffle, a Rune Raker video, about the symbol that I set all of you to have a look at. The one I don't want to do myself because it's really hard. It was a bit mean of me. But anyway, I've set you a series of 6 and you can work on any of them. Some are known runes that we already have, but we want to find the new energies that are hidden behind those stories. So well done, Patrick, for inspiring a brilliant idea for the collective. You can post your own videos on your channels, and then this project will grow and become something so beautiful. Well, it's already something beautiful. That was weird. As I said, beautiful. It was on 313, but they were saying to me 1313 in my head, but it wasn't. It was the bracket with my bad vision making 1313. So clearing up distortions and giving them wonderful creative clarity, which is what the project's all about. So, where are we today? We're in an energy of time once again. That face is changing behind me. We all have an Yggdrasil tree, a personal Yggdrasil tree. And the Norns, these fates, these 3 primordial beings from behind the veil that understand all of time, because they are timeless, they present each of us with a tapestry of our perfect life, and then we don't really get to see that tapestry, but it certainly involves an Yggdrasil tree with 9 realms, and that's that notion of a stitch in time saves 9. If you fix something now, if that little hole in your fabric or the fabric of time you deal with now, if you fix it now, later you don't have to fix it with 9 stitches. You don't have to go into all 9 realms of your Yggdrasil tree to sort everything out. So we don't see the tapestry of our perfect lives, and we use cards and things to try and glimpse into possible energies that are coming towards us, but those energies are only coming towards us according to what can come through our portals into the future that we haven't tangled up too much. So the clearer our future portals are, the doorways into the future, the better the energy that can flow through them. That's interesting, they didn't say that before. So we are weaving what we believe to be the replica of our life story, and we're really crap at sewing. Because we go through life and it's full of difficulties, and so we make missteps, we tangle things up, we trip over, we fall, and all of those frequencies are part of our existence. And we've got to learn to unpick all those tangles, stop thinking those traumatic thoughts, and move our frequencies forwards. But to do that, we need to go backwards to the past. So here is the first symbol of Norn number 1. Now the Norns, they are associated in many thought processes as being the past, the present and the future, and some scholars will argue that they're not. I would say that for the purpose of these runes, they want us to separate the notion of the past, present and the future, but to understand that they're all one thread woven together, and it's how well that thread fits through the needle. I'm bringing up the needle because, as you will see from Rob's last live, which was fantastic, and everybody, you were all incredible with all the things you channeled and thoughts, and I've been sitting there for hours typing it all up. But the 4 runes that I set him were a mini cycle. Within the runes there are different stories that come together, because runes are about binding things, they're about weaving threads together, threads of our own lives, threads of other people's lives, and at points we're almost stitching side by side, and that's all very well, but sometimes we then tangle our different tapestries on top of each other, and really we need to be weaving the same image but on our own warp and weft landscape. So the cycle that we have here is the 3 Norns, which we're going to see the 3 symbols of, but they're also connected to needle, the Yggdrasil, I have to say, Rob says this word so beautifully. I absolutely love it. It's Yggdrasil, and this is the wheel of life. But in this, for him, it was, we were talking in that collective about it being an energy where you can pull it in to protect you. In this, it's representing a different story, and that's what's wonderful about the runes. They bind into different tales. This is about the wheel of destiny being stopped, being stuck, and we need to untangle it. That also came up in his reading. And then we have the All rune, which is when everything reaches a point and is bound together properly. This is the Weird rune, and Weird to me is a version of one of the Hemirs, the heavens at the base of the Yggdrasil tree, where the Norns live. More so in Anglo-Saxon than in many other runic and Norse sort of traditions of the gods. And it's because this one we're looking at, this vortex, which is very much like the devil energy in tarot, this is the Norn who's called Urðr. Urðr. I'm overdoing it because I love to roll my R's, but it's U-R and then T-H as in the, and then an R. Urðr. So, and it's that rippling whirlpool that rushes and catches us and keeps us tangled in our old traumas that we keep rethinking and rethinking. Now, I've given it at the moment the Old English name Swelgness. Swelgness. You see, the sun's already chasing me down here now. You just have to go with a whiteout for the moment where you can't see anything. So swelgness is the Old English word for a whirlpool, an emotional torrent that you're caught in and you need to get yourself out and stop drowning, which is, you know, a tricky energy. I just need to move and sit up a bit because I've been sitting here for over an hour now talking to myself and not videoing any of it. So we're looking at the past. Now, what's interesting about the past is when you first experience a trauma, it resonates as an absolute truth from within your heart, and your own personal Yggdrasil grows with that energy. And this means that at those moments we're making the energy difficult. Now, the Norns, they live at the base of the Yggdrasil tree, as I said, in Urðr, which means a realm in which there are the waters of life, the waters of all knowledge, the Akashic records. And every day the Norns come out of the shadows and they give the water to the roots of the Yggdrasil tree. They water the roots where all the shadows are, because nothing grows if you can't deal with the shadows, if you can't nourish the shadows to allow all the other realms to grow around your own personal Yggdrasil tree. So let's just dive in with the Mystical Shaman deck and see what comes up. Hello, there's my little spirit totem. The fly just popped in. He came in to bless us all and say this time it's recording. I'm keeping an eye on the corner of the screen to see that the recording symbol stays there. I had a little bit of a moment then when they fell out, but I'm not taking them. Winds of change are picking up around me. The trees are rustling. They're rustling around. So, Urðr. What do you want to say, Urðr? Urðr. So, right, so we have 6 and 37, the blade and the moon. The moon came out first. There's a connection between cycles, between emotions. They're talking about, it's again that stitching time saves 9. Is there 9 on here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The stitch, the needle. You need to reset. Blade, cut through. The 9 cycles are the 9 realms, but they're also saying the phrase of stitching time is do it now, don't delay it, because it becomes worse. So what they're trying to point out is every time the moon circuits around every month is creating yet more woven tangles on the pathway into your own future. So that's really interesting. We'll be getting on to the future and the past, but you need to re-thread your needle. You need to cut off your connection to, you need to prune, you need to use that emotional masculine courage to face shadows at the base of the Yggdrasil tree. Nothing will grow without you doing that. That face in that tree is amazing. And there's a fly going around my head now. Hello, my friend. So happy you're here with me. What else would you like to say? There's a determination, and this card is sitting caught in a little trick. It's the magic. It's a kind of magic. So, 33. It's magic in the real world. You have to untangle. It's saying pick up the crystal. This is like magic in the real world. This is that moment when you untangle your past, free the doorway into the future, and the magic begins to just show up all around you in the real world. And then, 3 cards. So we have 12, 43 and 45. So this is a card that we always call Divine Detours, the coyote. But actually what the coyote really seems to represent is the structures around us. Look, it's saying, are you frightened of me? Because I'm like the shadows of your own life, the shadows that you experienced that should no longer be able to hurt you. I'm not going to bite you, but I am going to block your pathway. It's a frequency of standing in the way. And then we have the seer and the rattle. And the seer holds a kind of shamanic rattle, and now there's kind of karma seated, emerging from behind the seer. It's like, put your past behind you, see the truth. The rattle is to create a new space. The rattle is like the blade, the needle that cuts through. They're talking about a pearl as well. They're talking about how loads of pearls. It's like they're talking to me, they're showing me tapestries. They're showing me ornaments on tapestries. They're talking about how pearls are grown from an irritation in a shell, and they're showing me how you can stitch things onto pearls, but the pearls on this fabric of your own tapestry through life are kind of knots that are forming, and over time there's a kind of a build-up of debris, detritus, and it begins to, the knots begin to, as you keep looking at them, you keep picking at them, you keep trying to remove them without dealing with them properly by going back to the root of them, they begin to take on something shiny and immovable, and yet they just need to be unpicked. That's really interesting. So seeing through yourself, they're saying. See through yourself and see that it is you that holds you in the swelgeness, in the emotional whirlpool. Let's get an Odin on it. They came out a bit quick. Again, it's sitting in a... the Yggdrasil tree is catching all these cards and holding them in the air. This is Raid. This is the journey, but the journey won't begin unless you wake up to yourself. Oh, I know what they're trying to tell me there, and that's like, it's, yeah, let's just do it. It's there in the card. So look, these weaving webs that we send out, these traumas that we rethink, every time we send those emotions out of our chest and heart as a false emotion, and every time they ripple up inside our own personal Yggdrasil tree, we are creating bad growth, and we are creating weakened branches, and those threads have gone through, and they're like a gateway across our gateway into our future. We can't step into that gateway because it's in the future, but we need to clear it so that the energies can come through the gateway towards us. And it's like a thorny briar that surrounds the palace in which Sleeping Beauty is fast asleep. And we all have that fairy story, that tale that talks about a handsome prince riding in to wake the Sleeping Beauty. And actually, they've been talking to me about how the truth behind that story is that the prince is you. It's your divine masculine dealing with the traumas of the past and clearing the threads of the briars that are entangled in the future, so that the pathway in the now is open for us to go in. And the Sleeping Beauty that we awaken is us, our divine feminine, our spiritual journey. We're waking ourselves up by untangling our own lives. And the second card, hey, let the man's here. Odin. They're just saying to me Odin tangled himself in his own life. So that's really interesting. They're just showing me him kind of just buckled and belted in. It's like they're going back to the seer. What do you need to know about your future frequencies? What do you need to know about the tapestry that the Norns gave you that isn't clear to you? Isn't it that the Norns gave you a tapestry with your greatest potential beyond your own imagining? Odin couldn't even imagine the wonders of the life that he could lead, and he sought all the time outside information, people to help him. And even when he went to Mimir's well and hung upside down on the Yggdrasil tree in the hang tree, he still didn't really understand the fullness of wisdom, because he still created structures around him. He came from Mimir's well, and it's almost like they're saying to me, he shackled the coyote and dragged it with him. Instead of working with the coyote, it's like he took half a story away with him. He didn't take the full wisdom that he could have, and so he then had visions of his inevitable future. So for instance, he had a vision of Loki's 3 children that he knew nothing about with Angerborða, and he sought to change the inevitability of a destiny. That was another one of the cards, the World Serpent card, the Urðr card that Rob did, that cross on the destiny, and that they're saying to me that the cross on a destiny is just another stitch in time, and Odin thought and sought to change his own destiny, and it's because he wanted an outside solution rather than an inside solution. He sought his solution through the frequency of another. And he even takes Mimir's head when Mimir's head is removed, and he talks to the head for wisdom. He seeks more wisdom. What wisdom, true wisdom, is to be content with living in your now, knowing that you are in control of your own destiny and future. Interesting. Well, at least I think it was. I'm not really fully certain of what I said there. Oh, you see now, look, that's a bit of magic. When I was doing this and settling in to see what cards I might use for this reading, I sat with the 6 cards, and this one was on the top, and I wanted to know which deck would best talk to me. Would this deck talk to me? And that card came out, and it's come out again to show you how we bind our own destiny, because this is the world card. We're not reading this one today, but it's part of the cycle. We are our own spiritual warrior. We are the one who rescues us. You know, it's very strange, because in many ways I'm saying I'm giving you, oh, prickly, I'm giving you messages to help you mould your future, but how that future is moulded is down to your own dreams and your own certainties. So, anchor. You have to set an anchor in the past to be able to reach to your future, is what they're saying. You have to go anchor yourself to the roots of the Yggdrasil tree. You have to visit your shadows every day and water those shadows to help them to not dry out, because if they dry out, if your shadows are not nourished, then nothing will grow above in your heavens. And it's just giving this card of the 5 of Pentacles, the warrior of the world, Mercury and Taurus, with the Queen of Swords. Oh look, it's like she's saying there's no point in cutting Mimir's head off for wisdom. The wisdom's within you. You are the wisdom, but you have to stop your world worries and start your world certainties. So let's move on to the next one, which is this, which you will see has a reference to this within it, but it also has a reference to the wrong one. Also has a reference to this. So they have patterns where different energies are bound onto different energies, rune binding to present things. But what we're trying to do here in actual fact is this is your future gateway bound and tangled in the past and not allowing the energies to flow through towards you. So this is Skuld. She's the youngest of them all because she's the future. She's the thing that's not grown properly yet. And this was once called Stan or Stone, and for the purpose of this at the moment I'm using the word towardness, which means the future, towards. to move towards something. So, and this was what immediately drew attention to this set being the Norns, was that there was something about this being a stitch through the fabric of time. So they're saying to me that, I might have already said this in the video, but because I've done this once, the energy's already been spoken. I'm never sure whether I'm repeating then, but it is still recording. The warp and weft of the fabric on which your entire life is based in the three-dimensional world is created from pure source love. The stitching, the physical world that we weave onto that love, is tangling up as we fumble and fall and stumble and trip through life, as we're meant to. But the problem is that every time we rethink those energies, instead of leaving those threads tangled, we're going back over them, and we're picking at them, and we're trying to undo it, and we're like, oh, I wished I hadn't got that. That's another beautiful shadow in your wonderful tapestry. And as you move through your tapestry, it's transforming into something absolutely stunningly beautiful. But it's throwing webs into the future that are blocking the energies coming through. So let's ask Skuld, what is your towardness? Skuld, what do you want to say about the future, the towardness? What do you want to say about the future, the towardness? Right, now that's interesting. That one's got caught in my hand. It's Taming of the Wind. That came out in the last reading at exactly the same point. It's 55, and so I can repeat this exact message, which is, your future dreams are only a reality if you can bring them into the now. Believing that somehow there is a cosmic destiny unfolding for you will not make it unfold. You have to weave the steps. So for instance, I know that this room project is part of my future destiny, but it won't happen unless I make steps with the others to make it each day. Yeah, I don't have to do it each day, but to make every day part of the journey towards the completion of the project. It's no good a stitch in time saves 9. Stitch now, and then later you save yourself a lot of effort. You craft the embroidery of the future you wish to embrace. You tame the wind of your 5-dimensional dreams, and you weave them into the 3D of now. Hey! See now this one? I've got to move my legs again. Ha! He came out 3 times in the splitting of the deck. The ancient ones, they are talking about what they are exactly. These are Nornic energies. They're primordial. They're from behind the veil of the physical. They're something we can't fully comprehend, even though that's what I'm trying to help us do, is to get through that message and see what they are. We have they're talking also, sorry, they're saying to me it's ancestor energy. It's frequencies within our DNA that makes us form some kind of new notion of what a future should be, what a dream should be, but we've got to apply that dream through ancestral energy to unpick the past in some way. I know I just said we're leaving all that the tanglements, but some of the tanglements are additional. It's like we've overwoven, that's what they're saying. We've woven and woven and woven. Every time we go back over that thought, instead of leaving it in the past as a beautiful distortion, we're overwriting it. We keep stitching it, and we need to unpick all those over stitches so that the true beauty of that original trauma can exist to feed into the energies of the Yggdrasil tree above us. So we have, and I want to say for some reason, because it's I want to say moon in Sagittarius, and I don't know why, but I'm going to leave it there because it's come out both times. There's something about this card being, again, a reference. It's just they want to keep saying it's a needle. It's a needle. It's about piercing through your soul and restitching your journey forwards. There's no journey. You have to hold still. You have to stop bleeding from this frequency of the heart distortions that are trapping your future portal, the energy of where you're heading. Interesting. So let's go to Odin and just see, what does Odin and the Nine Realms want to add to the message of the Norns? Another card sitting held up by the tree. Look, Logir. Your past and your future are asleep in both cards. Wake up, people. There is no past, there is no future unless you live in the freedom and the creativity of the now. This is the inner emotions are unbirthed because you haven't fixed the journey. Raid is a journey. You haven't fixed the journey into the roots of your Yggdrasil shadows. Whoa! The Norns, they got profound messages about how we move through life. Right, so they've thrown out the Eight of Swords. Interference, all the stitches, the cross-stitching, the blockages of the future are from the traumas of the past. You've got to face the traumas of your past. I need to very slightly, I think, bring that up a little bit because the light was getting a bit weird. So, the point of the Eight of Swords, though, is that it's something that you amplify in yourself. It's Jupiter in Gemini. It's the polarity between these two spaces. The past, it's Janus energy, but it's amplified Janus energy. It's how we trap ourselves in our own thoughts of the past. And we have to tend to the Yggdrasil tree. We have to tend to our own personal Yggdrasil tree. We have to water its shadows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 creatures. 7 birds. And that's really odd because I was singing a song and counting numbers to 7 earlier on. Oh my God, it was the song Jupiter's tune. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I kept singing that over and over again. I love a little bit of spirit working through things. And there's another country is the words to that song. There's another tapestry. There's another truth. There's another reality that you can weave for yourself when you let go of judging yourself through the eyes of others and only judging yourself as having done everything you did in your past because you were meant to experience it. But stop repeating that thought through the eyes of others and stop beating yourself up with those thoughts. You did everything exactly that you were meant to do to get you to the point now where you can look at those shadows, water the roots of your tree, suck in the nourishment from those shadows, and then move up into the Elfamir realms far above us. So, this is really interesting. It's the card of karma, cross. But they're saying that your future's dead if you can't deal with the shadows of your past. That's really interesting. And they're saying calcify. Your tree will calcify. Your leaves will no longer grow. Your future is stunted if you can't seek to close off the shadows of your past. And look, I don't have that many deep dark shadows. Well, that's not true. I have loads of them, but I'm facing them. I've faced many of them. I've dealt with all kinds of terrible things, but I want to say mine weren't done necessarily by others, but my perception of how others might view me. And I've done lots of awful, terrible, crazy, mad things to grow and become the person I am. and I wouldn't be that person if I hadn't done those things. But I don't judge myself for doing them. I just say I was meant to do all the things I've done, whether I see them as good or bad. They're all just things, and they're in the past, and I'm happy with them because at the time they were exactly the thing to do. But I hear that lots of you have that energy where things have happened to you. Now that's partly to do with, I mean, you know, things have happened to me as well. I'm being a little bit flippant with my own past because I've been bedding down with it very well and dealing with it. But there are outside things that traumatise me that took 30 years to resolve. And they were very dark shadows that were an energetic frequency that coloured everything about my own life. But you have to at some point accept that somehow we pull energies towards us like a tower moment so that we can take growth, because our Yggdrasil tree is starving for nourishment and it gets nourished through shadows, and that's a really difficult concept. But we come to the physical world to weave ourselves into shadows. You know, when we're in the light, when we're just the warp and the weft frequency of the base on which we're weaving our tapestry of life, that is just light. Each thread that we weave on, they are the shadows, and they are the things that make us grow in resilience and strength. They are the shamanic pathway out of trauma. So let's now look at the final Norn, which is Verðandi, and she is the present. And this card is also called stone sometimes, but it's the clear and open gatekeeping gateway. It's the temple gate, which is another old English word, just spelled a bit differently. It's the open, clear pathway to the present. If your present is totally 13 frequency clear, then all the energies of the future can flow through. I need to move my legs again, people. Ow, 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 ow. Oh, a spike in my foot. So, don't fear where you walk. The ground will always be a bit spiky at first before it smooths out. So, this is Verðandi, as I said. She is like the judgment gateway, but there is no judgment. The judgment is a perception you're putting on yourself. If another judges you, you just say to them, oh, he who throws the first stone, that's thing. You know, don't throw stones when you live in glass houses. We've all got things we can judge ourselves for. If someone judges you on something, ask them why they're projecting that truth from within them on you. They need to judge themselves, not you. We need to not be making judgments on others, and we need to not make judgments on ourselves. So, let's just go. He who is without sin cast the first stone. That's the phrase they were trying to find for me. So, what do we have? Oh! The Time Master, because we're dealing with time. There is no time like the present, because there is only the present. And the past and the future affect how we live our present. And this card, the Sweat Lodge, is coming out as the shadows that unlock the doorway, the key to the future. This is the eye of the needle. This is the thing that you have to go through. So by looking at your shadows in the past, you are dealing with shadows that you've sent out as distortions into your tree. You've poisoned your own Yggdrasil tree, and you've got to pull back all those threads, and then you've got to bind the past, the present and the future together as one single golden thread to pass through the eye of your needle and begin to stitch a new embroidery of how your future will be. But that embroidery, you can only have the dream of what it will look like, but you have to physically stitch each stitch now in the present to build an image of how your future will be, but you won't get to see that image until that image is done, and that stitching of the now is then in the past. All times are connected as the three Norns are connected. Way! See, that's why I didn't record, because that was the profound moment, the magic that was coming through the cards. I kind of feel like I should just go away now. That's it, done. But I'm just going to throw an Odin. So funny. 2 cards have come out, but I should have stopped before it was the first one. That day is the now, the light of the now, whether you're in day or night. And that is taking all of your past energy and passing it through the eye of the needle. So let me just get this needle card. Where's it gone? Needle is a personal portal, an intimate moment of adjustment, a rare gift for you to reground your light by weaving the golden threads together. Rumpelstiltskin territory. You take your past, your present and your future and you weave them together into a single golden thread that is a pathway worth walking, worth weaving. Pruning entanglements, embroidering anew, daylight, newness, the now. So we're back to the notion of, and we're in the now. That's what this is. Verðandi. Verðandi. And it's almost like they keep saying to me, can you not see that the runes are just decorative cross-stitching? They're embroideries in their own form. This is elk. Elk is about protection. Elk is about connection between, it's the Yggdrasil tree. It's like a symbol of us being part of it. Look, there's a section there around the neck of the elk. You are your own personal Yggdrasil tree. So, what else do you want to say? I'm really amazed, actually, that the Norns card didn't come out. I was expecting it to. So, it begins with, there's 3 cards, 2 face down. This one, look, the past, the present, and the future. The 3 swords are the 3 needles that all need to go through the same woven golden eye of the needle. What's that thing? It's easier for someone to pass through the eye of the needle. Camel, nourishment, there's something about that. It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of the needle than for a rich man to enter the gates of heaven, because you can't fit your thread, your golden thread, through the eye of the needle if it's attached to personal material possessions. There we go, said the preacher. And then what do we have? Exit. Pins and needles. Why do we say pins and needles for something that's uncomfortable? Because we don't want to face it. This is about the moon in Aquarius. So we're going right back to the beginning of the thing, going into fixed moon energy, untangling, getting everything in alignment, pinning everything down so that we can work out how we embroider our now to create the future. How strange, that card's never meant that before. And this is always a very tricky frequency, this card. And then what do we have? Princess of Discs, a new energy of weaving your life anew. She's got like a spear that's like a needle plugging into the ground. There's yin and yang, and the idea behind the yin and the yang is that you've got the past and the present, the dark and the light, the good and the bad, but together they make a whole, and that whole is where you pass your golden thread through the eye of the needle to weave yourself a better life. So, Odin, one more card to end, please. I just feel like I need to give the Norns a chance to kind of celebrate. They usually come out. No, it's interesting though. It's harvest bliss. You harvest bliss when you fix your past, your future, by living totally trusting in the present. So that's it. It's really long. That's going to take about a year to upload. So anyway, Time Master came and I'm really pleased about that. Exciting magic in another rune reading. See you all soon. Wassail!